What up, what up? Friendly reminder, it's Wednesday, so legally you cannot be fired no matter what you hump. That's not entirely true. Welcome to The Sweat, folks. She's Jessie, Coffield. I'm Emerson, Lotzia. We'll get you set for tonight's slate in the NBA and NHL after we play some chase or fade around the NFL.
You could test that theory. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, no, I like my job.
Here to help is this DK Live trio of Reed Fowler, Steve Buchanan, and Jeff Ulrich. You guys are amazing, so help us out, please.
Wow.
Please. Guys, Patrick Mahomes has only thrown for less than 300 yards 3 times this season, so chase or fade. Mahomes throws for more than 300 yards against the Ravens. Jeff, he's your favorite player after Tevin Coleman, so you're up first.
Well, I like with the facts. I mean, we are amazing, obviously. So just facts only on this show.
Facts only.
I'm going to chase it. I'm going to say over. Look, people are going to bring up, oh, it's the Ravens defense. They got a good defense. This is Patrick Mahomes. It's a different beast. And look, it's not like Baltimore is some kind of, just dead end for opposing quarterbacks either. They're still like top 10 in terms of pace of play. So, I just feel like Patrick Mahomes is going to put up points here. Baltimore is going to have to play at a faster pace than usual. It's going to lead to a usual Patrick Mahomes game. You mentioned the stat off the top. I mean, he's obviously thrown for over 300 yards in a lot of the games. So, I mean, just the odds dictate that that's probably going to happen again. So I'm definitely chasing a Mahomes bounce back of sorts here.
Reed, do you agree the odds are in Mahomes' favor?
Yeah, I think they are. If you look at two against top-ranked defenses like the Ravens in terms of DVOA, Denver, 303 yards he put up. Jacksonville, although they've been susceptible to the passing, like they're still top 10 in DVOA, and he's able to hit this mark more than one. Cleveland, for instance, he put up 375 yards. I know he didn't do it against Oakland, which is kind of a misnomer, but in those three that he's averaged or that he's gone up against in terms of DVOA, all top 10, he's averaged 330 yards in this contest. Look, these guys, you're not going to be able to run either on the Ravens. The Ravens on the road do have worse splits than they do at home, obviously. So I do think at Arrowhead that he goes over 300 here.
Steven, the people have a lot of faith in Patrick Mahomes. Are you one of them?
Just like Jeff's shirt, I mean, their takes were a little iffy there. I mean, the Ravens have only allowed one quarterback to pass for over 300 yards this season. It was Baker Mayfield, because obviously it was. Only other quarterback that's come close is Ben Roethlisberger. He's thrown 274 and 292 in the 2 matchups they've had already. So 300 yards, it kind of feels a little iffy on me. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. We've seen Mahomes go under 300 yards in 2 of his last 3 games against the Raiders, which, you'd expect that he'd be over that mark, and the Cardinals, who are a defense who are pretty comparable to the Ravens. I mean, this Ravens defense is really good, and I don't think it's out of the possibility that I can keep him under 300. Do I think he's going to be close? Yes, I definitely think he'll be close, but 300 is, that's a lot against this defense.
Jeff,
APM, always play Mahomes.
Yep.
Jeff, don't listen to him about your shirt either, dude. It's called fashion.
I don't listen to anyone about anything, Emerson.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've learned that very early on about you. Steve, Philip Lindsay delivered the best game of his career last week with 32 DK fantasy points against the Bengals. So chase or fade that he scores more than 25 fantasy points against the 49ers.
Yeah, we've seen opposing running backs score over 25 DK fantasy points 5 times against his 49ers club already. And then with Emmanuel Sanders down now on the IR, it becomes a legit possibility. We keep seeing Lindsay's carries keep going up too as well. Over his last 3 weeks, he went from 11 to 14 to 19. The only thing I'm a bit worried about here is that this Broncos secondary, they are just ravaged with injuries all of a sudden. We saw Chris Harris just went onto the IR, and you really got to think about the Broncos don't really have many weapons left in their offense to be competitive with week in and week out. Now, do I think the 49ers are going to blow them out? Nah, I don't think so, but you have to really start thinking about that now, that just the Broncos don't really have many guys to give the ball to. So 25 points seems definitely obtainable, but I'm a bit worried at this point of what kind of usage Lindsay's going to get if they have to play catch up at this point.
What do you think here, Reed? Can Lindsay score more than 25 fantasy points against the 49ers?
Yeah, that's a lot. I think he's going to get really close to that. Look, in terms of, like Steve mentioned, San Francisco is giving up more than 25 DK fantasy points. When you look at the run rate that happens with Emmanuel Sanders out, it goes from 35% to 70% when this guy is out of the game or out of those snaps. And that obviously is going to funnel all through Lindsay. Now you're running out of Courtland Sutton. Deshaun Hamilton is going to fill in that slot. You don't really have a lot of faith in these receivers, and you're going to funnel it through your best option. Like Royce Freeman might get some touches. He might, pilfer some of those red zone touches, but it's going to be Philip Lindsay. I think he does get that 20 mark or that 20 plus DK fantasy points. 25 is a lot. I never like to go over that because that's a pretty good game. But against this 49ers defense, it can be attainable.
Yeah, it is a big injury there sustained by Emmanuel Sanders. We'll have a real doctor on the show later to talk about that.
A real doctor?
But let's see. We got one more here. Jeffrey, can this guy hit 25 DK fantasy points against the 49ers? Please tell me.
I mean, I'd take the under. It's just the law of average. He played 42% of the snaps last week. I mean, it's not like Denver has just thrown Royce Freeman and Devontae Booker to the side. I mean, those guys are involved. Like Steve mentioned, if the game flow goes against them here, you'll see more Booker. So, yeah, I mean, Phillip Lindsay did a lot of his damage on like one big touchdown run, and that's great. The guy's playing great. There's nothing against him. I could see him approaching this number, but if I'm going to take one side, I'll go under. He's only done this twice this season, so.
Guys, Davante Adams has been one of the league's best receivers this season with 4 games with over 130 yards. So chase or fade, Adams gets more than 100 yards this week against the Falcons. Reed, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to chase this. I think if we think that Rodgers is going to go off, he's going to be this top 5 quarterback now that McCarthy is gone. He's going to be calling all of these plays against Atlanta. Absolutely. I mean, when you look at Adams, he's getting 10 targets per game. He's number 1 in red zone receiving. His catch rate in that inside the 20 is 52%. So I do think when you look at the yardage that he's able to obtain, yes, he's getting the production. Yes, he's getting the red zone targets, but this is directly correlated to Aaron Rodgers throwing it 45 plus times. He is the number 1 target. He sees about 28 to 29% target share in that offense. So yeah, I believe he's going to go over 100 yards against this Falcons secondary. That's not that good.
Jeff, do you have so little faith in this Falcons secondary? Is he going to get 100 yards?
This is a perfect setup for Davante Adams. He's got angry Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. He's got 16 more red zone targets than anyone else on Green Bay. It's a ridiculous split, and he's really, really good. And he's going up against the Falcons defense, who's their fifth last in DVOA ratings against number 1 wide receiver. So they've allowed big games to guys like Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham. No, I'll take the over here for Davante Adams. I think some people might be a little miffed at the price here and just because of the performance of the Packers, but I don't mind paying up for him. And again, you know, Adams, Rodgers, stack, might want to do that this week.
Ooh, some stack advice. Well, Steve, everybody seems to think Adams is going to get over 100 yards. Do you agree with them?
Well, one thing we learned last week is that Randall Cobb is a horrible analyst because Aaron Rodgers did not go off last week, so his future is diminished in that aspect. But yeah, I mean, look, predicting over 100 yards is a big expectation. I mean, it's like asking, if someone's going to score over 25 DK fantasy points. It's a lot, but it's definitely out of the realm of possibilities because he's done it already 4 times this season. He's got such an excellent matchup this week against this Falcons secondary. I mean, he's going to see a lot of Robert Alford. He's allowed an average of 17 yards per catch this season. It's been scored on 5 times already this season. If you get that guy in coverage and you're going to go up against Davante Adams, I mean, I'll put him in for 200 yards at that point. If that's what he's going to be seeing the majority of his coverage in. It's a smash spot for him. This should be a really good game for Adams.
All right, last but certainly not least in this segment, Rob Gronkowski's numbers have been super inconsistent this season. He's had only 1 game with more than 15 DK fantasy points. That was back in week 1.
Jeez.
I know. Chase or fade, the big beefy tight end is reborn again and churns out 20 points against the Dolphins on the road. Go ahead, Jeffrey. Oh, bless you.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. Oh. I'm going to be really, really optimistic here. I'm going to take the over. I think most people are done with Rob Gronkowski. I'm more inclined to get on him this week at under 5K. And the Dolphins are kind of a reason why. I do think the Dolphins can be competitive in this game. Their offense has been okay with Ryan Tannehill the last 2 weeks. And they've also allowed a lot of touchdowns to the tight end position. I think it's 9. They're 2nd or 3rd most in the league. So I do look at this as a spot where Brady might have to use Gronkowski.
Oh, my gosh.
Go to Steve.
Go to Steve.
He's dying over there.
I don't know what you guys are doing up there in Canada, but Steve, go ahead. Hopefully Jeff is alive.
I'm watching Jeff die on screen.
Terrible.
I love how we're still doing the 3-shot too. That's perfect. Watch him die. I mean, look, the Dolphins are not a team to target your tight ends against. I mean, look, you take out the one blow-up game that Eric Ebron had, and they're allowing an average of 10.7 DK fantasy points on the year against opposing tight ends. I mean, for his price, his target share is fantastic. He's averaging 6 a game. He's only 4,800 this week. But even with the targets that he's getting, he's just not doing anything with them. I don't think it's necessary to go this route this week. I mean, he's probably a good GPP play for sure, but you have to be worried about using him in cash. It just doesn't feel like this is a spot to use him here against a defense that's been pretty good overall against opposing tight ends.
Reed, you with them on this one? It's a good GPP play, but maybe avoid him in cash.
Yeah, so if you guys hear a fire alarm in the background, they're doing a test. I think that's what Jeff was coughing at. That it's
just a test, Jeff. Don't let the noises make you start coughing. It's a phantom cough.
I agree with Steve here. Like Gronkowski is he's at a fantastic price, right? It's weird to see this price tag next to Gronk's name. But at the same time, Miami hasn't been that good or that favorable to tight ends, right? 10, 11 points to tight ends over the last month or so, but they haven't really faced really good tight ends, right? The Bills, the Jets. They don't really give you that faith of confidence that those tight ends are that good. Look, back when he faced Miami before, he didn't do that well either. So this guy really Gronk has to get a couple of touchdowns to return value at this, and I don't really think that happens this month or this week.
All right. I think we might only have 2 analysts next time they join us.
Joe's falling apart.
No, you three, please go take 5. We got NBA chatter on the other side of this break.
Hey, it's Brendan Glasheen in with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. We're at a point now where it's safe to say LeBron James, he's pretty settled in Los Angeles. Not only because the Lakers are 14-9, just 2 games out of first place in the West and winners of 3 straight, but also as LeBron adjusts to his new home, so do his kids who realize how special their dad is. James' oldest son, LeBron James Jr., surprised his dad Monday. Bronny changed his basketball jersey number from 0 to 23 for his new 8th grade team to honor the king. And Bronny's younger brother, Bryce, he reps number 6, James labeled during his time with the Miami Heat. James said Tuesday to the media, quote, "It's a proud family going on in our household, and I'm a proud dad." Clearly, LBJ has a great state of mind right now. No Cleveland chaos just yet. James and the Lakers go for win number 4 in a row tonight against the Spurs, who at 11-13 own the 2nd worst record in the West. What is going on? That is nuts. This one is available tonight in DraftKings Showdown Captain Mode. LeBron, 20,100 in the captain slot, 13,400 as a flex. In the last 2 Showdown contests he was available in, James put up at least 62 DraftKings points.
We've got an awesome duo from Awesemo.com here to talk.
I see
Did
what
you see what I
there.
did there?
Nice work.
Every time. Yeah, they're from Awesemo.com. You get it. Here to talk basketball with us. Say hello to Josh Engelman and Dave Lofgren.
All right, let's jump right in. Hey, good to see both of you. Let's jump right in here. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We're playing Splurge or Save, by the way, so we give you 2 options at each position, the highest price player or a cheaper option, and you decide whether you're going to spend up or save some cash. So in the words of the great Mills Lane of Celebrity Deathmatch, let's get it on.
All right, guys, at point guard, Russell Westbrook leads the pricing at 11-2 against the Nets, or you could save some dough with Holiday, who just went off for 71 fantasy points against the Clippers. He's only 9.1K against the Mavs. So, Dave, are you splurging or saving at point guard?
I'm going to have to use that Awesemo line in the future. That was...
Yeah.
Dude, that's great.
I wrote that myself, Jessie. Guys. Wrote it myself.
Well done.
Thank you.
Look, you could pretty much do whatever you want on this slate. Now that we're getting this news with Jeff Green out, John Wall out, half the Wizards out, they might run a 7-8 man rotation. But that doesn't mean that Westbrook's going to be my guy. Will he triple-double? Yeah, probably will. But at the same time, there are so many other good high-priced options on this slate. Now, I'm not paying for Drew either. He's also too expensive. Where I'm saving at point guard is with guys like Trae Young, and with a cheap Kemba Walker in tournaments, and even Satoransky, he's back in the starting lineup. I think there are a lot of ways to save without having to pay a premium.
Josh, are you also looking to save here?
Yeah, but that's really unexciting to talk about. But I completely agree. There's too much value now at point guard to need to spend up a ton. Clearly, Russell Westbrook has that triple-double upside. But it's a lot easier to pay up at forward positions and center today than it is at point guard just because of all of the Wizards.
All right, well, Steph Curry's looking pretty good in his first 2 games since returning from injury, if I say so myself. He's the highest priced shooting guard tonight at $9,700. Or you want to save some money, you could choose his teammate, Klay Thompson. He's only 77-1 rather. Taking on the Cavs this evening. Josh, you splurging or saving here?
I'm saving, but again, it's not going to be to Klay Thompson. It's going to be to someone like Bradley Beal, who's going to soak up as many minutes as he can possibly find. 8,400 today. You still have the dual eligibility with Satoransky or Rivers or Oubre now. There's just too much other quality, and that Cavs-Warriors game could be over by halftime.
Dave, what do you feel like doing, man?
Yeah, I'm with Josh here. Again, the Wizards' value comes so heavily into play, but I'll give you a bit of a caveat. If you're looking at this Golden State team that's still without Draymond Green, you have Stephen Curry, you've got Kevin Durant, and you've got Klay Thompson. We all know that any one of them's capable of dropping 50 fantasy points in 2 quarters, and we've seen Klay Thompson drop 50 real points in 2 quarters. So if I'm going with one of these Golden State guys hoping they get hot, it's going to be Klay Thompson because he is the cheapest. And the shooting guard position, despite having some good value, doesn't have much at the top outside of Bradley Beal, who's probably going to be really popular. So I don't hate Klay Thompson at 7,100.
Dave, Giannis is the most expensive shooting forward at 11.6 against the Pistons. But if you wanted to save some money, you could pick Kawhi. He'll cost you 9.3K against the Sixers. So splurging or saving?
I think a lot of people are going to look to save, believe it or not, on LeBron James, who's actually quite a bit discounted from Giannis here. You're getting Giannis at 11.6 and LeBron at 10.5, so $1,100 discount. I have no issues with that, but I also love Giannis and Antetokounmpo in this spot. The Pistons allow a lot of points in the paint. They don't protect the rim well despite having Drummond there. And Giannis is just an absolute monster in every facet of the game. He's expensive, but I expect people to shy away from him at that price point, and I expect another huge game from the Greek Freak.
Josh, what do you think? Splurging, saving?
Now I'm splurging across this entire position.
Make it rain.
Giannis, LeBron, Kawhi, Durant, Paul George, Ben Simmons. All that savings that I'm getting from point guard and shooting guard is just getting jammed in at forward. I like every one of those guys because I have the ability to get them in a ton of my lineups. Even someone like Durant, who's probably going to be relatively low owned, it won't take much to get above the field. You can get a lot of leverage on the field with these guys.
Excluding the Greek Freak, Anthony Davis is the highest priced power forward at 11.5 against the Mavs, or you could save some money with Paul George at 8.3 against the Nets. Josh, who are you going with?
I don't have an aversion to Anthony Davis. The price tag is pretty large, but Paul George looks like he's in a great spot. The $8,300 price tag is perfectly fine by me. It still feels like there's some ceiling involved if you're playing Paul George. And without really loving Russ as much as I would have liked to, this gives me exposure to the Thunder.
What about you, Dave?
Yeah, not to be wishy-washy here, but I like both of these guys, and I'll quickly tell you why. Paul George is too cheap, still has a 30% usage rate since Russell Westbrook came back, and he's still the clear number 2 option on a team that doesn't really have a number 3 outside of Dennis Schroeder. But with Anthony Davis, assuming Nikola Mirotic plays, and I think he will, you have no way that they can match up with Anthony Davis, the Dallas Mavericks. DeAndre Jordan is not going to be able to guard him away from the basket, and you can't stick him on somebody like Mirotic because Mirotic lives behind the three-point line. So they don't really have many ways to do it. You can't put Harrison Barnes on him because then what do you do with DeAndre Jordan? It's just a huge matchup nightmare for the Mavericks.
Guys, did I hear a dog barking in one of your?
Yeah,
I thought you were actually ringing a bell to tell me I went too long, so I stopped talking.
No, they're doing a fire drill in our building.
Safety first, boys.
We've been told it's just a drill, so we're going to stay, but
yeah,
we'll see.
If we don't see you next time you come around, though,
yeah, that'd be a real bummer.
Stay safe.
Thank you very much. A+ work by both of you. We got plenty more coming your way on the Sweat, including an over-under chat with our glorious football panel.
But first, here's Pat Mayo.
Between Wilson, Samuels, and Justin Jackson, cut one right away that you won't use. I'll take Justin Jackson, toss him aside.
Me too. Even though he was awesome and I like him a lot, I'm not going there.
So that leaves us between Jeff Wilson Jr. and Jalen Samuels. And there's question marks with both of these guys, but I still think that Samuels, especially with the rate that the Steelers are passing right now, even when they're winning in games, no matter how big of favorites that they are, and this week they're on the road in Oakland, it's a nice matchup on the ground, that I still think that you can get Jalen Samuel to around 20 touches, whether it be on the ground plus through the air, that he can be so valuable in this matchup. I think I would go with him.
I'm with you. I'm a Jalen Samuels fan. I liked him a lot. He was awesome in college. I'm a little biased from that. You know, they used him in a multitude of different ways. I'm also just not I don't feel like many people are, but like Ridley doesn't exactly, you know, put too much fear in me that he's just going to be so good right out of the gate that Samuels isn't going to be involved. He should have the passing work regardless. And I think he does see plenty of volume against, you know, it's the Raiders. So this is a pretty good spot for a guy like him. And I think we see a good performance.
So there's another guy at the same price and no one's going to use, but I think that he's in a particularly good matchup here. And you could probably scrape him probably 5% owned, maybe even less, because so many people are going to gravitate towards this range and take Jalen Samuel, Jeff Wilson, or even Justin Jackson. And it's LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette Blount in games where the spread is basically within 4, that you think this game is going to be close the entire time. And right now, the Detroit Lions are 3-point favorites on the road in Arizona. Arizona, one of the worst run defenses in the entire league. It's very clear what Detroit wants to do in these games. They want to run, and they want to run with Blount. Now, the caveat is if Kerryon Johnson is back, none of this makes any sense. But if he is out, again, I think you could see 20 carries on the ground for Blount against a really weak defense. There's no one to take away carries from him. If Theo Riddick plays in this game, well, LeGarrette Blount wasn't doing anything anyway because they're losing by too much. This game needs to be close or Detroit needs to be up, and you're going to see them just over and over and over use LeGarrette Blount here. Plus, Kenny Golladay is going to be shut down by Patrick Peterson. So I think the two Lions to use this week are going to be Bruce Ellington and LeGarrette Blount, and just no one's going to take him. And out of all these guys, you know he gets the goal line work.
If there's one thing you know, he will not get vultured. That would be a new scenario. First of all, yeah, we have to see what's up with Kerryon, because if he plays, you can forget it. But, I mean, yeah, he could get 15-plus touches. When you average 3 yards a carry, it doesn't amount to much. He's going to have to fall in the end zone a couple times like we saw on Thanksgiving. This is a pretty good matchup to do it. Detroit is, Stafford once again last week, not great to say the least. They've been just so ugly. But yeah, I guess you could do worse there. To be honest, I'm sure I'm not going to get to him. I just cannot stomach playing him. I'd rather take more of the dynamic pass catchers when I do punt at running back. But yeah, he's always got multiple touchdown upside.
The boys are back, and what a crew we have for our NFL panel today.
Wow.
In case you have the memory of a goldfish, that trio, it's Reed Fowler.
Who?
Reed Fowler,
okay.
Steve Buchanan, and Jeff Ulrich, all of DK Live fame.
Jeff's the guy who
has the cool shirts.
Cool
shirts.
Great shirt and coughs a lot.
Yeah.
All right, now that we've identified all of you, please help us with a game totals edition of Over Under.
So basically, do you like these games to go over or under the projected totals?
Well, thank you for explaining it. And the fire alarm started back up again.
Try to ignore
again, we're going down with the ship here on the sweat, okay?
Wow. Is that for the fire, Reed? A cup of water?
Yeah, for Jeff as well. Just make sure we're all ready.
Please take care of our producer, Stephanie.
We're all drinking here. No fluids.
All right, Steve, the Saints and Bucs have the highest projected total this week with 56. We saw the Saints offense crumble last week, so are you going over or under here?
Yeah, I'm going to take the over on this one. I mean, the total has dropped already from 57.5 to 56. And so obviously there's certainly some concern there about how the Saints offense looked last week, but comparing the Bucs defense to the Cowboys defense is like comparing myself to Julian, like one's superior and one is just far than less ideal. And that would be the Bucs defense. I mean, they're averaging they're allowing over 28 points per game, the Bucs defense that is. And yeah, they've looked a little bit better as of late, but against the Panthers and the 49ers, like I don't see that continuing here against the Saints. So I'm going to take the over on this one.
Now, remember, we compared you to Julian a couple days ago and you got a haircut.
Had to.
Okay. Reed, where are you going, over or under on this total?
Yeah, I'm with Steve here. I'm going the over, both because they have bad defenses, right? Like Steve mentioned, you have a bad pass defense, you have bad total DVOA. That's gonna garner that over. What scares me a little bit in this, though, is that New Orleans has a pretty slow pace of play. They're 30th in pace of play, which scares you a little bit in terms of hitting this over. You have to obviously get that 40 to 50-point game to really feel comfortable at New Orleans. They do run the ball quite a bit later in the games as well. So if they want to slow it down, if they're up against Tampa Bay, which is totally in the realm of possibility here, they might slow this down. But because both of these defenses are bad, I'm going to go with over here.
Jeff, the floor is all yours.
I mean, I disagree with the last thing Reed said. I mean, the Saints offense is not, or the Saints defense, excuse me, is not bad. I mean, the last four opponents, 17 points or less, and that's what scares me. That's why I'm taking the under here. I think New Orleans is going to have to do most of the scoring in this game. The Saints defense is coming on, people. Like, they're not the team they were at the start of the year. It's a very, very good defensive unit. And I think that the Bucs are going to have a lot of trouble keeping up in this game. I think the Saints are going to come out ready after that loss last week. And I just not sure that being this an outdoor game, it's not in the dome. I'm just not sure if the Saints can put up enough points to get to the over. So I'll take the under here.
Well, Reed, the Colts offense also decided not to show up last week. Do you expect their game with the Texans to go over or under 49 this week?
Yeah, I think it has to go over here. If you look at both of these, going back on DVOA in terms of both rush DVOAs, top 5. So they're really elite against the run. And so both of these teams are going to have to pass. We see Andrew Luck obviously didn't do much against Emerson's Jacksonville Jaguars, but I don't think that happens, right? I think Houston does give up quite a bit in terms of pass game, and this game has the potential to be a shootout, especially because those rush defenses are elite. So I'm going to say over.
Steve, over or under?
I think this one is an easy over. This just feels way too low for these two teams. I mean, the Colts are poor against the run, and Lamar Miller has been quite effective as of late. I mean, we kind of joked about using him during the beginning of the season, but he's become like a legitimate option as of late. And then the Texans have just been roasted through the air as of late. They've allowed, over the past 3 games, they're averaging over 32.5 DK fantasy points per game to opposing receivers. We have a lot of injuries we have to watch in this game. Watson was limited today in practice. Hilton and Ebron both didn't practice today. So obviously any of those guys being out would affect the total. But as it stands right now, with all those guys playing, that's just way too low to go for this one. So definitely over on this one.
Jeff, you're nodding. Do you agree it's going over?
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree with what these guys have said. I was a little surprised by the point total here. I mean, I thought it would be in the 50s for sure. I mean, T.Y. Hilton and Andrew Luck have just destroyed the Texans throughout their career. I mean, seriously, go back and look at some of the game logs. It's just disgusting. Every time they play the Texans, they go off. And then you have the Texans coming in with a pretty good offense this year. I mean, Deshaun Watson at the helm. So these teams went for over 70 points, I think it was, when they played back in week 4. I was really surprised. I mean, I think that, we're just giving the Texans defense a lot of credit, but their secondary really isn't that deep, really isn't that good. I think the Colts are going to be able to score here, so I like the over too.
Well, good news. We're getting the announcement now that they are completing the fire drill.
Yeah. They're going to repeat it a couple times.
Just waiting for you guys to get out of the building now?
Just a false alarm here, guys.
It was not real, but we do know now. What we've learned from this drill is that when they announce it, to just continue doing the show.
Yep.
Okay.
Indeed, and that's what we will do.
Yeah.
Like right now, the Steelers will be without James Conner this week, but their game with the Raiders still has a pretty high projected total of 51.5 points. So, Jeff, do you like the over or under here?
Yeah, this one's hard to figure. I mean, it's the Raiders, right? You don't know what they're going to do. I'm inclined to take the under here. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers defense bounces back a little bit after that, second half debacle last week. And I'm also just not convinced that the Raiders are going to be able to put up another 20, 25 points. Everyone's, cheering them for the effort they put up against the Chiefs last week, but I just don't see that as sustainable. This is not a good team. I think the Steelers defense dominates, and I do like the under here at 51.
How do you feel about this, Steve? I mean, Pittsburgh's going on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I want to take the over here, but been on the road, going across the country, and then, they don't really have a run game. I mean, granted, relying on Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster is not a bad problem to have by any means. There's no wide receiver cornerback matchup that really you fear for the Steelers in this spot. But, like Jeff said, I mean, I don't know, the Raiders going to put up the points they did last week. This Steelers defense is way, way better than this Chiefs defense. So I just can't see them repeating that type of performance. I don't see another big game coming out of, Jordy Nelson again or anything like that. So you have to go with the under here. This just feels way too high for an Oakland offense that just really can't get anything going aside from last week.
Yeah, so no James Conner, Reed, Ben Roethlisberger. He's never won in Oakland. This will be his 4th try. You hitting the over?
Yeah.
Under?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over here. Look, no Martavis Bryant either, right? No revenge game narrative for Martavis Bryant, like he wasn't gonna do anything anyway. But look, over those last 3 games, Oakland has scored 24 points. Yes, those defenses like Kansas City are a lot worse than Pittsburgh. But you also look at Pittsburgh. They run 77% pass play, right? So they're keeping these high scores up. Oakland isn't as bad as they have been in the past. Look, they're terrible. And Steve alludes to it every single week that these guys can put up 6 points, 8 points, 3 points pretty easily, right? Like they're not going to score that much. But if you look at Pittsburgh defense as well on the road, they're giving up about 20 points per game. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Pittsburgh is able to put up a 40 spot. And all that Oakland has to do is put up close to where they're averaging over the last 3 games. So I'm going to say over here.
All right, well, that was like really fun. So take a break now during this Fantasy Flash. And in the next block, we will talk what sport?
Hockey.
Time for your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. I'm Brendan Glasheen. The Bengals placed A.J. Green on injured reserve Wednesday, officially ending his season. The 7-time Pro Bowler returned last Sunday after a 5-week absence. Green was targeted only once, just wasn't the same. We learned on Monday Green required surgery for his nagging foot injury, which is going to sideline him for 3 to 4 months. So see you next year. For the stretch run, Cincinnati relies on Tyler Boyd and John Ross as its top 2 options at wide receiver. As far as this week goes, Boyd is 6,100 at the Chargers this coming Sunday. He's been targeted at least 8 times in 3 straight games, and John Ross is only 3,800. Second-year wideout is end zone dependent to reach value. He has caught a touchdown in 3 of the last 4 games and 4 of the last 6 games. It might not matter because we can't expect much out of Bengals quarterback Jeff Driscoll. He's against a top 10 Chargers pass defense, which has been terrific at home.
Who else would we have on this show to talk about hockey other than the slate breaker himself, DK Live's Ben Zwyman? I mean, there are other options, but Ben was available, and for that, we are grateful.
Wow. Help us, Ben.
Thanks, guys.
You are seriously our only hope right now for NHL price check. So thank you for being here, despite what Emerson said.
Appreciate you.
Connor McDavid.
Yeah, I took a break from Harry Potter, so.
Oh,
you're talking to a big Harry Potter
I love
fan.
Harry Potter. Yeah.
All right, well,
all right, let's do it.
We'll deal with this later.
Okay, yeah, we will deal with this later, though. Connor McDavid's got a high price of $8,100 tonight, but he's got a nice matchup with the Blues starting Jake Allen, who has a save percentage under 90% this season. Ben, is McDavid worth paying up for in this spot?
Yeah, I mean, it's McDavid, so 3-game slate, sure, I'll pay up for it. The Oilers have scored more than 3 goals 8 times in 27 games this season, though. They're averaging 2.40 goals per game on the road. McDavid's okay in cash, but like even the elevated price, I can still pay up for him in cash. But I don't know how much I like him in GPPs. Sort of limits what you can do depending on which goaltender you're going with. Jake Allen's actually been pretty decent in November. 917 save percentage. He's allowed 3 or more goals in only 2 of his past 8 starts. So I kind of think he's in a sneaky spot here. So I'm sort of just thinking McDavid in cash and maybe lean against him on GPPs.
All right, well, Patrick Kane is the highest-priced winger tonight, 7,200 against the Ducks. What makes you think he's going to be worth the high price, or maybe you don't?
See, the price is weird. His past 2 games, he was 6,300, and they were probably better matchups. They were tough teams, but they were better matchups. The Ducks aren't exactly a great matchup on the road. Kane scored against them earlier in the season. I think that has something to do with it. He's more of a GPP play in my eyes. Again, it's Patrick Kane, so on these slates, you sort of have to look at these high-priced guys if you're looking to break a lineup. But I don't know. The price is weird. If he was a little cheaper, then maybe, yeah, I'd be on him. If you're looking at the Blackhawks as sort of a contrarian stack, you're going to have to start your stack with Kane. So, yeah, the price is weird, though.
Yeah.
Erik Karlsson, $6,100, $1,000 cheaper than his teammate Brent Burns, who's the most expensive defenseman tonight. Do you think Karlsson is the better play against the Hurricanes, considering the massive savings?
I actually don't. I don't think the savings matters too much here. Karlsson does most of his work on the power play. He has 10 points. 10 of his 16 points this season have come on the man advantage. The Canes have a really good penalty kill, so I don't really expect the Sharks to do much on the power play. Burns and Carlson are both great shots plus blocks percentage guys, but Burns has been just a little bit better lately. 4-game point streak. He's picking up assists. He doesn't really need to rely on that power play production to be productive. So, yeah, I'm fine paying up for Burns in this spot.
All right, Corey Crawford has been miserable lately, going 2-7-1 in his last 10 starts, but he is playing the Ducks, who have a horrible offense. Is he worth playing, considering he's 6,900 this evening?
Yes. I don't even care what he's done lately. I don't care about that at all. Crawford is absolutely worth playing. I tweeted earlier his stats against the Ducks in his career: 14-6-2, 930 save percentage, 1.92 goals against average, 3 shutouts in 23 career games. Those are pretty insane numbers. The Blackhawks have struggled a lot, but I could see Crawford really picking it up in this start. He's the cheapest goaltender out of all 6 projected starters tonight, so you're going to get that salary savings. So if you're trying to pay up for a guy like McDavid, Crawford's the way to go. His last 4 starts on the road, though: Caps, Bolts, Knights, Jets. If you recognize those teams, that was the Final 4 from last season. So, yeah, those were tough matchups. I think Crawford's really trending toward being the most popular goalie on the slate, which kind of gives me some concern, but the price and the savings, I think you got to take them.
Okay, Ben, now before you take off, please hit us with your slate-approved pick, the guy you're rostering no matter what.
All right, I have a ton of Vladimir Tarasenko of the St. Louis Blues tonight. He scored 3 goals in his past 4 games. I think he's really underpriced at 6,500. 13 points, 61 shots on goal in 14 games at home this season. He gives you a nice floor. Cam Talbot, Oilers goaltender, is expected to start tonight. He's been awful, 23 goals allowed in his past 6 starts. The Blues got embarrassed by the Coyotes the other night. They've been off the past 3 days. The Oilers have been playing a lot of hockey lately. I think the Blues at home, they've been rested. I think they come out here, they throttle the Oilers. Give me Tarasenko.
I mean, Ben, it's only a 3-game slate. You got to be creative. You got to take risks, right?
Hey, I'm all about risks, man. You know me.
Let's go, baby. Slate breaker. We can always count on you for hockey talk, knowledge, and passion.
Thanks,
Benjamin.
guys.
Much appreciated, bud.
Now go, be free. Back to Harry Potter.
Fly.
We're not done, though, Emerson. We are not done.
Because of the fire alarm?
Yeah, still have to bring back the NFL, guys. And we have a special guest.
Who?
A real doctor, Dr. Seelan Parekh. But first, here's Adam Levitan in the DFS Edge solo pod.
What advice do you have for selecting tournaments to play at low buy-ins? Don't have the bankroll to play high-dollar tournaments, but most low-dollar entries seem suboptimal. Yeah, so if I'm grinding a small roll, I still think that it's worth exploring the smaller field tournaments. Like, can be as small as a 10-man or a 5-man. And if you guys don't know how to find those, they're not under featured. You just sort by the number of entries in the filter tab, min 10, max 10 entries, or whatever you'd want. I'd also try to find some single entry tournaments to play, even at low stakes. Just looking at the lobby this morning, the $5 nickel on DraftKings is a 3-entry max with 10K to first. The Pylon is a $3 single entry, 5K to first. There's the Daily Dollar, $1 single entry, 500 to first. I think the key when grinding a small roll is to have realistic expectations. You're not going to turn into $1 million. You're not going to turn into 500K. You're not going to turn into 100K. You're probably not going to turn into 50K. Set more realistic goals for yourself. And then there are a ton of tournaments worth playing, right? If your goal is, hey, I'm going to try to win 500 this football season. I'm going to try to win 1,000 this football season. Then there's a ton of tournaments worth playing. I think, the people that say, I want to win $1 million, play DFS, but my role is $100, so I'm going to play the Millie Maker 5 times, and then they get pissed and they quit and they, close their account because, DraftKings is rigged or whatever other bullcrap that they want to come up with, set realistic goals and you'll be way, way, way better for you.
Doctor, I need a doctor.
I don't even know.
Doctor.
I don't even want to know what you need a doctor for, actually. But relax, we have one. A real one, Dr. Seelan Parekh, as well as our NFL guys, Reed, Steve, and Jeff. It's time to discuss the fantasy impact of the following injuries.
Dramatic. Starting with the biggest news of the day, that would be Emmanuel Sanders getting hurt. Sorry, I just got distracted from where The doctor is right now. Sanders is getting hurt in a non-contact drill during Broncos practice today. Had to be carried off the field. It's being reported he's torn his Achilles. He's done for the season. So, Dr. P, how long does it take to recover from an injury like this?
Yeah, so the MRI confirmed that he had that Achilles tear. So he is going to have surgery this week. It'll be 9 to 11 months for him to return to play. Now, that's not the big question. He's 31 years old. 30 to 40% of guys who have an Achilles tear cannot come back to the NFL. That's the bigger scenario. That's the bigger question. And we'll see what that means for September and October of next year.
So, Reed, which players on Denver see their fantasy value increase and receive an extra workload because of this Sanders injury?
Yeah, for the near future, I do think it's Philip Lindsay. I talked about him earlier. I think he sees the most increase in terms of production this week, first week of the fantasy playoffs. But if you're looking further down the road, dynasty leagues, keeper leagues, obviously a guy like Cortland Sutton, who's their rookie, who has been obviously getting more snaps with DT being gone. He's someone that now becomes a de facto number one there. And for next year, right, who are they going to re-sign this guy? Like, he was in trade rumors, Emmanuel Sanders was, earlier this season. And now with this being, like Dr. P was saying, being at that age now with this injury, you have to like Cortland Sutton's long-term future as opposed to short-term. So Philip Lindsay, short-term, Cortland Sutton, long-term.
Jeff, who are you looking at?
I mean, look, I think most people are in daily fantasy are going to be looking at Cortland Sutton and licking their chops this week. I'll throw a little bit of cold water on. I mean, he's his season target high is 7 this year, and that's with Demaryius Thomas gone. Like, he was supposed to step into that role. He really didn't see an increase in targets without Demaryius Thomas. So I'm not sure what Emmanuel Sanders being gone is going to do. The Broncos just don't go pass heavy very often. They think they're just going to pass less with Sanders out. I like Cortland Sutton a lot. He's a number one receiver, future stud. But, this week, he might be a good fade candidate if he's going to get too popular. Matt Lacoste, Deshaun Hamilton might be some good mid-price punts. But again, you're relying on a bad passing offense.
Cortland Sutton, Jeff just threw some water on him. Steve, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, real quick. It looks like Dr. P's out of the office, but if you can write a prescription for Jeff, I think he has bronchitis. Cortland Sutton is definitely the answer here. But like Jeff said, Matt Lacoste, I think he should be in the mix as well. I mean, he destroyed everybody's lineups last week, man, definitely mine. But they're just running out of receiving options right now. The 49ers are middle of the road against tight end, haven't really been tested this season against anyone big, despite only getting 1 target last week. Lacoste was playing on 80% of their snaps. It's not going to cost too much. He was only $2,700, but long-term, yeah, Sutton is definitely the answer there.
All right, well, Bears quarterback Mitchell Trubisky says he expects to play this weekend against the Rams on Sunday night. He's been out the last 2 weeks with a shoulder injury. So, Dr. P, can he do serious damage if he isn't fully healthy and decides to play anyway?
If he is not truly healthy, then absolutely. So if he has a cuff tear or a labral tear, which are the tissues that help to stabilize the shoulder, then any kind of play before this is fully healed can become problematic. But if this is just a shoulder strain from landing on it and that hit, then he should be perfectly fine moving forward this season.
Jeffrey, if you have him in season-long fantasy leagues, are you taking the risk and playing him this week if he's starting?
Hey, I mean, you got to. I mean, I think the Bears have kind of put themselves behind the 8 ball here, too. They gave him 1 more week of rest. And, like Dr. P said, it sounds like it's just a strain. That's what the Bears have been saying. So they probably could have started him last week. They didn't. They lost. This is kind of a must-win game for them. They're going to let the Vikings back in the race. So Mitch Trubisky, top rushing quarterback in the league, or at least he was when he went out. Tons of fantasy upside this year. Rams have allowed the 11th most TK points to the opposing quarterbacks. Yeah, you got to start Mitch Trubisky this week.
What do you think, Reed?
Yeah, I'm there as well, especially with his ability as a rusher as well, right? That's where we get a lot of that safe floor with him. And against this Rams defense, like Jeff was mentioning, it's going to be a high-scoring game. You have that 52 over-under. That's what you like to see, especially with Trubisky. Taking that extra week, he looked like he was potentially ready to go last week. He was pregame, he was warming up. He looked good, but they just wanted to be safe. And I have him right around where Russell Wilson is, and those are kind of where you want to figure out what you want to do right against that. And then you're playing matchups when you get to Mitch Trubisky, especially going against that Rams defense. Allen Robinson is a guy that I think if you wanted to stack someone, he's a guy that sees the most increase with Trubisky in. But yeah, if you have him in season long, you got to start him.
Wow, Reed even throwing in a Little stack
wow.
recommendation. He's doing his homework.
Jeff did. I got to follow Jeff's suit, especially if, you know, he has that bronchitis. I got to keep on following suit.
All right. Well, it's time for the slacker to chime in here. Steve, would you?
That's definitely not me. Jeff Julian's not on the show. If you're in season long, okay, you should already have a backup plan. So depending on whoever it was as your backup plan is, that should dictate if you're playing him or not. I mean, you certainly have to be on the side of caution here. I mean, luckily for Trubisky, the Rams are near the bottom of the league in both quarterback hits and sacks. Because when he's under pressure, he's only completing about 43% of his passes, which ranks amongst the bottom of the league, which you would expect with that type of number. So if he's playing, you know, obviously he's an upgrade to that whole offense. He's an upgrade to likely whatever you picked off the waiver wire. But truly, you should have had a backup plan here already. So if you did, I really think it depends on the matchup if you want to play Trubisky or not.
All right, according to ESPN, Lamar Jackson is expected to start this week against the Chiefs in place of Joe Flacco. He's still dealing with a bad hip. Dr. P, this is where you come in. How can a hip injury impact your ability to throw the football? One more time? You want to hear it one more time? It was a difficult question. Dr. P?
I was frozen. I wasn't hearing you guys.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I may need a surgeon myself to fix my ear.
It's okay. Did you get the question? You want me to repeat it? It was a good one.
Yeah, actually, you're talking about Flacco, correct?
Yeah, the hip injury, how it can impact him throwing the football.
Yeah, so absolutely. That hip, we're not exactly even sure what happened to him. But the hip, when you're planting as a quarterback, you're going back, you're planting, and you pivot on that hip, it can be very, very painful. And so if it's not, again, healed, just like Trubisky, this can have an impact on his velocity and his accuracy. Obviously, complicating the scenario is that Lamar has had such a great 3-game stretch that, and he's winning. So Flacco, old school, maybe still hurt, and Lamar, young, the potential franchise quarterback, and where do you move forward? I think that's the more interesting conversation.
Potential franchise quarterback. Guys, do you expect Jackson to shred the Chiefs' defense with his running ability? Go ahead, Steve.
I mean, we really haven't seen a team run against the Chiefs. I mean, the most mobile quarterback we've seen go against them is Blake Bortles. He rushed for 34 yards against the Chiefs, and that was the most they've allowed in a game. The problem with Jackson, well, really not a problem, though. He's just such a different breed. I mean, he's like a younger Russell Wilson, and he'll run you to death if the opportunity arises. So it feels like a spot where he should, but we really have nothing to compare it to against his defense this year because Bortles ran for 34 yards, and that was the most they gave up in any given game. I mean, from what we've seen so far, yes, he should be able to. He definitely has the abilities to do so. But then again, you know, how much upside he's going to give you with the passing, because we haven't seen a ton from there either. So it's a dicey situation, I think, for sure.
Reed, is he just going to shred it?
I honestly thought this was an Emerson question, no. Obviously with his favorite S word in there.
He wrote it.
This is tough, right? Like Steve was mentioning, I think that when you look at Lamar Jackson, especially the Chiefs, they allow the least amount of attempts, right? So like he was saying, Blake Bortles, who I don't know how we keep on bringing up Jaguars in these segments, but Blake Bortles is a guy that can run, but he's not the level of Lamar Jackson. Like Lamar Jackson, especially in the red zone, he's got more attempts than Nick Chubb, than Phillip Lindsay, Joe Mixon, these guys. So you can't necessarily treat him only as a quarterback. He is that dual threat guy. Hopefully they don't do this quarterback by committee when Flacco comes back. I got him as a low-end QB1 because Kansas City, I'm treating them both as a running back and a quarterback because, look, Kansas City hasn't faced someone like Lamar Jackson yet. Difficult, but that low-end QB1 for me.
Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I have a weird take. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson's going to struggle here. I really do. I think going to KC, a little bit colder weather, the KC defense, not quite as bad as people think. Lamar Jackson, not a good passer. I could see him turning the ball over like multiple times here and Kansas City getting out to a big lead. But I also could see him selling out here for fantasy. And when they do get behind, just going nuts, just rushing for like 150 yards and a touchdown and still paying off for fantasy. So I think he's got a lot of fantasy upside this week. I do think there's some bust potential. I think he's going to turn the ball over, but the upside is definitely there for fantasy purposes. It's a great matchup.
All right, well, that's it. Dr. P, we appreciate it. I don't know where you are, but it looks warmer than here in Boston. So take care, and thanks so much.
See you guys.
All right, All right, right back at you, bud. All right, well, what do we have? What do we have here?
One more block to go.
Thank you.
We're talking NBA showdown picks, but right now,
Pat Mayo, right?
Pat Mayo.
Yes.
Number 1, Mahomes. I don't care if it's against Baltimore. There's no way you're not. There's no scenario I can envision where you have Patrick Mahomes that you're not playing.
Pat, 3 tweets already today. Should I bench Patrick Mahomes for my playoffs?
You would answer yes.
What? Yeah, if someone asked me that, I would tell them yes. I would actually tell them to drop Patrick Mahomes. If you don't listen, if you don't want to, if you are thinking about Patrick Mahomes, that's not to say that he's going to win you a fantasy championship or be a lock to be great this week. But he's the reason you're there.
Yeah.
He's been the best quarterback in fantasy by I think now 45 points. And he may have not reached his ceiling yet. And Baltimore can be had. Let's be real here. I think that
Pat, to your point, you know how many games he has with fewer than 20 points? One. And it was still 15.8.
Against Jacksonville.
Yeah. So second place is Drew Brees, who is almost 70 points behind him.
And Cam Newton's third, right?
Cam Newton, yes, is third. Actually, 0.1 behind Drew Brees.
And I think it's Luck.
Might be, yeah.
Luck or
Luck is 7th.
It would have been. I feel like it would have been Trubisky. I think Trubisky's still 10th, although he's missed a few games.
Or is it just
now he's 13? Luck would have been there, but now it's Big Ben and then Ryan and Goff.
Oh, Goff makes sense.
I have Ryan. Forgot about Ryan. Ryan's gonna be good this week, as you'll see by my rankings. Mahomes number 1. Yeah. If you don't want to play Patrick Mahomes in your fantasy playoffs, just drop him so someone else can play him. Because listen, if you think that he's so bad that you need to bench him, you should drop him so your opponent picks him up and plays him against you. Because you think he's gonna be bad enough to not play.
Yeah.
You see the logic of this?
Yeah.
At least you can goad him into playing him if you really have the stance he's going to be bad. Newton, Breeze, Luck, Winston, Ryan, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Big Ben, Russell Wilson, Trubisky, Josh Allen, and Dak Prescott. Josh Allen's floor every week, I'm going to say, is like 30 points.
Honestly, his floor is 7 points.
His floor is probably more than that.
I'm looking right now. His floor is 5 points.
What week was that, though?
That was at Houston, at Baltimore. Oh, wait, at Green Bay was 1.9.
That's not good. The Houston game's the game where he got hurt.
Yeah.
That's fair. But still 5.6.
Well, I mean, in the sense, his floor, the rushing ability floor, I will now assume he gets 70 yards rushing in every game he plays.
And then
because he has one read, and if he doesn't see that read, he's running.
It's their best play.
It really is.
And because he runs so much, eventually you get like sleeping safeties who come up to try to stop the run.
Charles
and then
Clay was wide open.
There's someone wide open down the field. And he short-armed that throw, throwing a cross body to Charles Clay. It was like
50 yards.
It was a 45-yard throw. And
Charles Clay still should have caught it.
He still should have caught it, but he like half lasered it. Like there was no arc on the ball, and he still almost got it there.
All right, time to tie a bow on the program. Wrapping up the sweat with our NBA dudes. Was that a bow?
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Hello again to Josh Engelman and Dave Lofgren from Awesemo.com. We do have some news to get to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Again, wonderful work by you tonight.
Yeah.
Nikola Mirotic is out, guys, for New Orleans. And the Pelicans are going to start Julius Randle in his place again. Randall had 37 points on Monday night against the Clippers.
Yeah, so that's just some extra news for you guys. But right now we need your help with showdown picks for tonight's Spurs-Lakers meeting. So Josh, LeBron James will cost you if you want to put him in your captain spot. He's $20,100 if you choose to go that route. Woo! So is he going to be worth the extra money to make him your captain?
I think so. I don't really have much confidence in the Spurs right now. They've been getting manhandled over the past week. So it would be hard for me to go to someone like DeRozan or Aldridge above LeBron. And he's pretty clearly the best option on his own team. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Give me LeBron.
Dave, is it a no-brainer to take King James?
Yeah, I think you have to. He's easily the best play on this specific one-game slate. By the way, Nikola Mirotic, just as I said that I thought he'd be active, he was ruled out about a minute later. So that's good. And Dennis Smith Jr. also out. But yeah, LeBron James compared to the rest of this team, as Josh pointed out, look, the Spurs don't have that it factor that for the past couple decades made them fantastic. They're just not good anymore. They're on the second of a back-to-back. They just got blown out by the Utah Jazz, and I think they'll struggle here as well. So it's hard to pay a premium for guys like DeRozan and Aldridge. LeBron's definitely the guy.
Dave, it's clear the Pelicans are watching the show and they just want you to look like an idiot. That's all.
I thought the same thing. I'm glad we're on the same page, though.
Yeah, we are. Oof. All right, well, the next two highest priced players, that would be DeMar DeRozan at 11.4, LaMarcus Aldridge for $1,000 less. Which of these two is the better play and why, Dave?
Yeah, you're going to have to make some exceptions here. Neither of them are going to fit that well if you're paying for LeBron. So that's what you have to consider. If I'm going with one of the two, it is going to be DeRozan here. I actually think, believe it or not, JaVale McGee could give Aldridge a little bit of trouble in the post. He's done it before. He's blocking a ton of shots, and his post defense is actually pretty decent. So give me DeRozan here in a game where I don't think they're going to really worry too much about sticking him. I don't think LeBron's going to guard him all that heavily. So DeRozan over Aldridge if I'm going with one of them.
Josh, DeRozan, or are you going to save a little bit of cash here?
Yeah, you just said you don't like him. So now you have to choose between him and someone else.
Well, you cut me off, but go ahead, man.
I wanted to say it before you.
All right.
I don't have much of a preference here, but it's going to be DeRozan for me, and I'm going to play the narrative game and just hope that he has a big game in LA. He tends to get up for that. I assume he'll get up even a little bit more now that he's playing in San Antonio. Not exactly a hotbed of fun. So DeRozan loves going back to LA, and I'll take him. Otherwise, I can't talk myself into LaMarcus Aldridge any longer. He's playing really bad this year.
Yeah.
All right, noted. We will never ask you about him again.
Ever. All right, which of the Lakers' young guns do you like the most? Kyle Kuzma at 8,600 and Brandon Ingram at 7,600, or Lonzo Ball at 7,200, Josh?
Don't do it, Josh. Don't do it. No.
Do it.
Give me Brandon Ingram.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I gotta go Ingram. It's a toss-up for me between Ingram and Kuzma, but I'm gonna lean on my Duke roots and say that Brandon Ingram's the guy that I want. I like the price, and I think this game fits Ingram a little bit better than it fits Kuzma.
The Blue Devils.
Wait, who did Dave think Josh was going to go with?
Lonzo.
I thought he was going with Lonzo.
Oh.
Josh knows my disdain when it comes to Lonzo Ball. So
let's guess you're not choosing him.
Yes, you would be correct.
Wow.
I'll go with Ingram here too. I think he and Kuzma are a bit of a toss-up. So go with the guy that gives you $1,000 discount. With Lonzo Ball, he's just too expensive every night, and everyone keeps saying he's too cheap. Well, until he proves to me that he's too cheap by producing more than 7 points and 4 rebounds in a game, I'm just not going to buy it.
Well, Dave, speaking of discount, where can you find value in a cheap player?
Yeah, well, I think you go a little bit further down. JaVale McGee's got an 8.8% block rate. That's really, really good. He is playing fewer minutes since Tyson Chandler came to LA. But I still think on a short slate, one-game slate for the showdown like this, McGee, if he plays 25 minutes, could give you really good points. And I'll give you one more guy, total down the blow cellar dweller.
Don't do it.
Oh,
yes. No, we have time. Go ahead.
Jakob Poeltl.
Okay, I'm
good. I'm a huge fan of this young guy. He's not getting the run. He got some in Toronto, and when he did, he was good. Here's the thing, though. This game could be a wash by halftime like yesterday's was, and Pop will just rest his starters again, his vets, on a second of a back-to-back. So Poeltl played 19 and a half minutes yesterday, had 32 fantasy points, and if you get another 20 minutes from him today at a basically free cost, well, then there you go. He's not a bad per-minute producer. He just needs to get the minutes.
Josh, what do you think Dave was going to say?
Oh, I had no idea where he was going. Okay. I certainly didn't expect Poeltl, but I'm going Davis Bertans. Give me Bertans here. 25 minutes in his last game, 27 in the game before that. Super cheap in a game that's a pace-up spot for San Antonio. Sometimes you just need to take a flyer, and I'm going to hope that Bertans can knock down a couple threes.
All right, before you guys go, who's your slate-approved pick for this showdown? Your must-play of the game. Please take it away here, Dave.
Nah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously LeBron James, Josh says, is the easy answer. I'll give you that one, Josh. I'll let you go with LeBron. Give me JaVale McGee. I love that he produces at a high rate, even when the minutes might not be there. And his potential he gets upwards of 25 minutes. If this game stays close, I really do think you're going to see him on LaMarcus Aldridge quite a bit because of the success he's had against them in the past. He's cheap. He can give you 5 or 6 blocks, 8 rebounds, 10 points, and you're good to go.
Josh?
Yeah, give me LeBron James. I'll take the best player to ever do it.
Interesting. That's a lot. That's a lot of money.
He's reaching on that one, just so everyone's aware that it's a sketchy pick. He's going off the board a little bit.
Are you throwing?
I'm not sure you know what lock means, Dave.
Hey, Josh, are you throwing him in your captain spot though? Is he in your captain? Okay. All right. Good stuff. That's it, boys.
Well,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was really good stuff today.
Just taking King James. All right, yeah, this is The Sweat.
Yeah.
I'm Jessie, you're Emerson.
Yes, remind me.
When will we be back? Or the show will be back. Tomorrow at 6 p.m.
This is 7 o'clock Eastern.
Everywhere that you watch this show, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, somebody's phone, the DK Live app. Maybe you just walked by a computer and it was playing, but you should definitely tune in.
That happens all the time.
Tomorrow at 6. Tell your friends, tell everybody, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and whatnot, and we're out of here.
Deuces.